And how does the model work? So from start to finish, if a client is interested in Talent by Design, what happens?
So Talent by Design, works in terms of structure. I think we would have an initial, probably initial kind of phone call, just to have a very, soft, conversation around what that might look like for them, and talk about, briefly around what numbers, we might be talking about for that. I think to get into it properly is probably kind of an afternoon workshop where we map out and plan what your goals are, what your vision is for the business, identify areas that will have to grow in order to achieve those, perhaps identify areas in your business that you don't have yet. I think recently I was speaking to a client about their plans and goals for the business, and asked the question, how does new business come into your business? What does the business development look like? And he kind of looked at me like, well, that's just me. Okay, but in terms of talking about your goals and vision for the business, is that a sustainable way of working? Well, no. So in order to achieve your goals, are we going to have to find and build, capacity within your business for others to be doing new business? Now, that could be hiring creatives that can do that. That might be a separate business development function. But it's working together, agreeing exactly what that structure needs to look like and what you're comfortable with it looking like, and road mapping the next 6, 12, 18 months, and potentially beyond, as to how we get there. And then working backwards, on the talent that's going to be required to achieve those goals. At which point we would put a proposal together in terms of what a monthly retainer would look like. There's a reduction in fees per placement to try and smooth out the cost, so that cost becomes predictable. I think, again, sometimes clients come to us, they want to hire 4 or 5 things very quickly. That price can add up very quickly. As I think with this, there's a very planned view of exactly what things are going to cost, which is, likely roughly when it's going to cost as well, if we've roadmapped it correctly, so that these things can be built in to a cash flow forecast, as opposed to being a sudden large bill that's particularly potentially quite difficult to meet, and then be prohibitive in terms of hiring. So I want to be able to partner with clients, make payments as smooth as possible for them, and enable them to grow their business the way they need to, not just be there to kind of pile on loads of invoices very quickly and chase the money. I want to kind of really work against studios right. So once that's done and agreed, and there's an agreement signed, we would then look to kind of start whatever we've agreed on. There would be a monthly check-in. We would have a kind of at least a monthly check-in and probably a weekly phone call, but a monthly kind of hour or 2 Teams call to kind of really kind of go through where we're at and how things are going. We can tweak things slightly along the way with that, and then probably a quarterly meeting. Maybe kind of lunch, dinner, some drinks, and really, again, dig into how things are going, and perhaps make slightly larger adjustments if we need to make sure that we're still on track, or whether your vision or goals have shifted or changed slightly, and continue to work as a partnership to meet those goals.